Okay, listen up, sweetheart. I'm sorry,
no,
that's
Harry,
just not
it's
gonna cut
okay.
it, okay?
I understand. You want me to do it with more pizzazz, right?
Yeah, anything, baby.
Okay,
Pizzazz, doesn't matter.
let me do it
Just
one
give
more
it all you
time,
got.
okay?
Okay.
Every baby needs a daddy, but where's the one for me? Rich or poor, I don't care who. If he hasn't got $1 million, then a half will do. Every baby needs a daddy. Could my daddy be you?
Cut.
Got
Got
it?
it, Marilyn.
Okay,
That was
great.
beautiful, darling.
Oh, hi! I didn't see you there. My name is Marilyn, and I know you're ready to get to the video, but first, I have something to say. I know when other people tell my story, they tell it sadly, and they talk about everybody who took advantage of me, but this is an Ashley Says So video, and she's going to paint me very rock and roll-like. So I think you guys better buckle up your seatbelts and get ready for the ride. Besides, who cares what she says? Baby, I'm Marilyn Monroe. She's just a YouTuber who wishes she was Dorothy Dandridge. And I sure do, Miss Marilyn, and ain't nothing wrong with that. Let's get to this disclaimer so we can get to this scandalous tea. Let's get to it. All of my videos are for entertainment purposes. Everything in them is rumor, gossip, and scandal that I get from books, word of mouth, on TV. Let's get to it. Norma Jean Mortensen, aka Marilyn Monroe, was born on June the 1st, 1926 in Los Angeles, California. Her mother's name was Gladys Pearl Baker, and her father was alleged to be a man by the name of Charles Stanley Gifford. And just by me saying that Charles was allegedly Marilyn's father, kind of lets you know that her childhood was troubled. Her mother Gladys was unstable, both mentally and financially. And I'm guessing these instabilities made Gladys straight up loosen the loins, honey. Because the folks say that when she conceived Marilyn, she was actually married to a whole different man. But this story about Marilyn's conception and Gladys's trouble, that's a whole scandal by itself. And we really just don't have time to dive into that because I want to keep the focus on Marilyn. And in keeping the focus on Marilyn, I want to say that by the time she was 11 years old, it is rumored that she had lived in at least 11 foster homes. And I am very sad to say that in most, if not all of these foster homes, Marilyn was actually abused. Gossip claims even when she was sent to live with her grandmother as a last resort, Marilyn had older male cousins that lived with her grandmother as well, and allegedly they even abused her. So to say Marilyn's childhood was troubled is really an understatement. Her childhood was a nightmare. And for this reason, Marilyn, or Norma Jean as she was known at this time, could not wait to get away from there. And so by the time she was 16, she did it the only legal way she knew how. She got married. It happened in the year 1942, and her husband was a young soldier by the name of James Doherty. And James Doherty seemed to be a nice guy, but the simple fact that Marilyn married him mostly to escape her surroundings meant that the cracks showed kind of early on in their marriage. And I'm gonna just be real with you. James Doherty was looking for a wife to raise his children. You know what I'm saying? He wanted a little dog, little house with a white picket fence, and allegedly Norma Jean was looking for fun. In fact, gossip claims that when James and Norma Jean, aka Marilyn, first started dating, he used to take her dancing. But as soon as they got married, he stopped, telling Marilyn that he didn't like those dance halls. He would rather sit at home. And so she told him, okay, and you're gonna sit at home by yourself. I'm going to continue going dancing. And allegedly, this is what she did. Every weekend, she would spruce herself up, put on her little heels, and she would go out and have some fun. And this was okay for a while until, allegedly, James showed up unannounced at the dance hall and saw Marilyn cheek to cheek, crotch to crotch, slow dancing with some dashing young fella. Baby, the folks say James was upset, child. Yanked Marilyn up out of there, took her home, and told her her dancing days were over. And Marilyn obeyed her husband, but she knew on the inside that this marriage was not going to last for long. And by the year 1945, the end of the marriage was in sight. You see, World War II was raging on, and James was shipped overseas. While he was gone, Marilyn, as well as the other women that were left behind, started to work in the plants and the factories that were around town. And one day while Marilyn was at work, a photographer came by. And this photographer was really there to take those strong American gals that are holding it down in the workforce for, those kind of photos. But when he saw Norma Jean, aka Marilyn, or better yet, when he saw her figure, he told her that he saw a future where she could have a real career in modeling. And not only that, a real career in show business. And Marilyn, hearing this, was like a dream come true, because I haven't touched on it much, but actually, ever since she was a little girl, she used to go to the picture houses, movie shows, and she'd always wanted to be an actress. And so she was delighted to hear this. And this photographer went on telling her that he knew the best modeling agency for her and that he would send her there. So Marilyn stops by this agency, which was called the Blue Book Modeling Agency, and she took a few basic photos, but while she was there, allegedly, the owner of the agency, a lady by the name of Emmeline Snively, or Emmeline Snively, came walking up to her, and she told Marilyn straight up, "Baby, if you want to make some real money in modeling, or better yet, if you want to really sign on with my agency, you're going to have to take some way more sexier pictures than this. Baby, you're going to have to show a lot of more skin, you know what I'm saying? You're going to have to glam yourself up. You got to do something to get the boys' blood pumping." And at first, Marilyn is like, well, I can't do that. I'm a married woman. I have to keep things respectable. Baby said Emmeline cut her off right there and told her, "Oh yeah, you're going to need to drop that too." Charles said Emmeline went on to tell Marilyn how their clients, the photographers they worked with, the studio execs, and people like that would need for Marilyn to be flexible. They would need for her to do some things, and nobody wanted an angry husband busting them upside the head because of whatever they made her do. And so, just like that, Norma Jean, aka Marilyn, was at one of the biggest, if not the biggest, crossroads of her life. She could either give this all up and go back to being that little housewife, or she could chase her stardom. And this choice, I'm sure, was not easy by any means, because see, now Marilyn understood that the road to chasing her stardom probably was not going to be so innocent. But these were pretty much the terms. And so Marilyn weighed her options and she made her choice. And in the year 1946, she ended up divorcing her husband, James Doherty, and diving headfirst into chasing her career. Rumor has it that after her divorce, or maybe even a little bit before her divorce, she signed on fully with the Blue Book Modeling Agency. And honey, the folks say 2 weeks later, Marilyn, aka Norma Jean, was a $10 an hour stripper by the name of Mona. What? Child, I ain't got no lie to tell you. Child, the old Hollywood streets say those nude photos that appeared in Playboy like years later, baby, they say that those photos weren't the only nude photos that Marilyn Monroe took. Child, they say the Blue Book Modeling Agency was sending little Norma Jean on all kind of nude photo shoots and pin-up photo shoots. And if that don't blow your mind, I bet the next rumor will, because allegedly this agency also sent Marilyn on jobs where she needed to do something strange for a piece of change. Now, honey, we diving into conspiracy theories right here. But according to the theory, allegedly on those old Hollywood streets, there were rumors sweeping around that the Blue Book Modeling Agency was a legit modeling agency. You know what I'm saying? They had that too. But also, allegedly, it was a cover for high-end escorts. And the folks say the Blue Book Modeling Agency denied the rumors back then. The history of the Blue Book Modeling Agency still denies the rumors today. But according to the conspiracy theory, you can tell what the Blue Book Modeling Agency was just by the name of it. See, back in the 1910s and 1920s, a blue book was a little bitty booklet that was carried at book stands and newsstands. And inside of these little booklets were the names and contact details of all of the working girls of the town. And so gentlemen would stop by those book stands and then they would get their little blue book and they would be able to book their entertainment for the night. And when it came to the Blue Book Modeling Agency that Marilyn was signed to, it is alleged that they would actively look for young girls like Marilyn, young girls who wanted to go into the movie industry. And they would send their little models to go do a personal modeling session for these big wigs, studio execs, directors, even actors. And if the big wigs really liked what they saw, when the girls were modeling. Maybe they would give these girls a leg up in the industry. So pretty much it was the casting couch. But again, all of this is just a conspiracy theory. Maybe Blue Book Modeling Agency didn't have any of that going on. But I tell you one thing, regardless of if it was through Blue Book or if it was Marilyn, her doing by herself, when the year 1947 came around, she was linked with several big names. And some of the biggest names was actor Eddie Robinson Jr., Milton Berle, Charlie Chaplin Jr. As a matter of fact, child of folks say Charlie Chaplin Jr. called Marilyn trying to book her services, but she was already out. So he ended up stopping by his brother's house and he walked in his brother's room. Baby said Marilyn was legs wide, head to the side. Now, I know y'all throwing pillows at y'all computer screen and TV screens, but baby, I ain't got no lie to tell you. Come on as we dig into this mess. Now, like I was saying, allegedly Marilyn was with a lot of different guys at this time trying to find a leg up, and according to gossip, she finally found it when she met ex-silent film superstar Ben Lyon. See, Ben Lyon was now an exec in his own right, and he's actually the one who changed her name from Norma Jean to Marilyn Monroe. Not only that, he got her first film contract with 20th Century Fox. Unfortunately for Marilyn and Ben Lyon, 20th Century Fox did not feel like Marilyn was ready to be star material, and so they dropped her in less than a year. Once Marilyn found out that Ben Lyon couldn't pull any more strings for her, she was on to the next, and the next was another exec by the name of Max Schenck. And Max Schenck just so happened to be best friends with the president of Columbia Pictures, a man by the name of Harry Kahn. And so Max told Marilyn straight up, if she would give him a little taste, he would get her signed on at Columbia Pictures, and that is what happened. And when Marilyn got signed on at Columbia, she just knew now was her time to be a star. But baby Harry Kahn, the president, had the game all messed up. He come trying to dip his wick in Marilyn's candle too. Talking about, yeah, my friend Max, he told me to sign you, but I'm the president of Columbia. Without me offering the contract, you wouldn't have got signed. Baby said Marilyn told him, this ain't no 2-for-1 special. Now Max told me that if I messed around with him, he was going to give me this contract. That's what I did. That's what he did. And I don't care if you are the president that offered me the contract. You want to dip your wick next to this clit? You're going to have to come up off another deal for me, preferably a leading role in one of the big A-list pictures that your studio produces. And I'm going to be real, I am sprinkling some says so sprinkle on here. But if you think Marilyn Monroe wasn't driving a hard bargain, baby, you are insane. In fact, the actor I mentioned that she messed with, Milton Berle, said that Marilyn knew her worth. And baby, you wasn't even going to be able to cop a feel unless you were offering something. Baby girl wasn't she. And so when she said this to Harry Kahn, she meant it. And Harry Kahn was all upset, you know what I'm saying? Because he was the president. He wasn't used to somebody telling him no. But he thought he had it in the bag, honey. Thought that he could appease Marilyn by giving her a starring role in a movie called Girls of the Chorus. Harry thought that he had worked his little magic, so allegedly he comes walking back up to Marilyn, trying to see if he can get in there. But Girls of the Chorus was not an A-list film. Baby, it was barely a B-list film. And once again, Marilyn tells him no. So allegedly, Harry says, okay, that's fine. How about you just go on an overnight yacht trip with me? I just want you there to give me a little bit of entertainment. And so Marilyn agrees and she goes on the little yacht trip with him. And while they're on the yacht, allegedly, Harry Kahn tells her to come into a private room, and then he tells Marilyn to do a striptease for him. And she does it. Well, in the middle of this striptease, Harry tells Marilyn to turn around and kind of bend over a little bit. And when Marilyn does it, here comes Harry rushing up, bumbling out of his pants, holding his wiki in his hand, trying to pull a fast one. Baby, the folks say Marilyn turned around so fast and was like, I told you no. Child said Harry Kahn called Marilyn Monroe every single name in the book, baby. As a matter of fact, when they got back to dry land, he took her contract with Columbia, ripped it up, and told her that she was no longer welcome there. Banned her from the movie studio. But Marilyn was beautiful. She was only about 22, 23 years old at this point, and she went right back to doing what she did best, her modeling. And this actually was legit modeling. As a matter of fact, while she was doing this legit modeling, she was doing a photo shoot at the Racket Club of Palm Springs. And while she was posing and looking pretty, a little short, funny-looking man came walking up to her and he started gracing her with compliments, telling Marilyn how she was the most beautiful girl he had ever seen. And he introduced himself as Mr. Johnny Hyde, as in Vice President of William Morris Talent Agency, Johnny Hyde. Oh, honey, as soon as Marilyn found out exactly who he was, she was full of all kind of giggles and batting her eyes and, "Thank you, Mr. Hyde." And I don't know what kind of TT magic that Marilyn put on Mr. Johnny Hyde, but baby, I'm talking about she had the man wrapped around her finger. His 53-year-old behind was in love with her 22 or 23-year-old behind. When I tell you he went to work to make her a star, oh baby, he did. You'd never heard of a vice president doing the legwork for anything. You know what I'm saying? Usually they would let the minions take care of that. Johnny Hyde was on the phone himself calling all kind of casting directors, screenplay writers, whoever he thought could get Marilyn into the films. Not only that, every bill that Marilyn could think of was paid. Baby, I'm talking about cars, clothes, jewelry, furs, whatever she wanted. He also would take her to all of the big Hollywood premieres, all of the Hollywood parties. He also paid for Marilyn's rumored plastic surgery on her face. And so Marilyn was having the time of her life. Johnny Hyde was having the time of his life. Johnny Hyde's wife was going absolutely insane. See, allegedly, Johnny Hyde was rumored to be a good husband before Marilyn. And so when he would go to these movie premieres, these parties and stuff, it would be his wife that was on his arm. And so allegedly, she confronted Johnny and she was telling him straight up, why are you doing this to us? She's using you for your money. She's using you for your connections. Anything you can give her, she's using you. Baby said Johnny told his wife, I know she's using me. I know she only wants the money. I know she only wants the connections, and I don't care. I just need to be beside her. I just need her love. And so, since Johnny was just so in love with Marilyn like this, less than a year after she met him, he was able to get her a movie contract. She was back with the first company she ever signed with, 20th Century Fox. But this wasn't a little Rudy Poo contract like she got that first time. And Marilyn was absolutely astounded, and she was so thankful to Johnny. But like I always say, the tee-hee-hee was on Johnny. Because after he'd done all this for Marilyn, he asked her to marry him, and she said no. She told him that she loved him, but she just didn't love him in that way. Pow, pow, pow. Every single word tore into Johnny Hyde like a gunshot. The man kept repeatedly asking her to marry him, and every time Marilyn said no. And so Johnny Hyde, the man who had basically abandoned his wife for Marilyn Monroe, ended up being stressed out and heartbroken, and within a week or two after he got Marilyn the contract, he ended up passing away from a heart attack. And everybody was hurt about the situation. It was so sad, especially Marilyn, but she just couldn't grieve too long. She had gotten the contract, but those A-list movie roles weren't just going to fall into her lap out of nowhere. And so the girl had to start campaigning with some of those casting directors. And one of the first ones she campaigned with was a director by the name of Elia Kazan. According to rumor, campaigning with Elia got Marilyn cast in 3 pictures. But rumor has it, Elia had a best friend that ended up coming into town, and the best friend ended up stealing Marilyn's attention. And this guy's name was Arthur Miller. Oh, honey, if you're surprised by this, I know. Because if you listen to recorded history, Arthur Miller didn't come into Marilyn's life until much later. But the underground gossip says different. They claim that Arthur Miller and Marilyn were infatuated with each other, and they connected hard. So hard that allegedly Marilyn wanted Arthur Miller to leave his wife for her, but he was not willing to do it. And baby, maybe she was hurt or something like that, because allegedly the girl just started dating everybody. Honey, the folks say in the year 1951, Marilyn was with actor Nicholas Ray. She was rolling around messing with actor Yul Brynner. Baby, she was rolling around opening it up for Peter Lawford. Matter of fact, it was while she was allegedly having her way in this time period that she she was introduced to Joe DiMaggio. And Marilyn thought that things with Joe DiMaggio were going to be right into bed just like it was with all the other people I just named. But when she went on her date with Joe DiMaggio, he was different. He really impressed her. And he did that by not paying really any attention to Marilyn. He wasn't drooling over her. He wasn't kissing her hand, asking her what she was doing later that night. He wasn't doing any of that. As a matter of fact, he was kind of just sipping his drink and looking around the restaurant. And Marilyn, who was still young and really didn't understand anything about men for real, took this to mean that, oh, he's kind of shy. Also, he's innocent. Also, he respects me. When in reality, or allegedly, Joe DiMaggio was acting like this because he was said to be very narcissistic. And him not drooling over Marilyn was not done in a respectful light. It was done more in a light to make her understand that she shouldn't think too highly of herself because, hey, you ain't all that, baby. Allegedly, that's the type of man Joe DiMaggio was. In fact, according to rumor, Joe DiMaggio was not only narcissistic, baby, they said that he was like a terrible man. Gossip claims he constantly cheated on his first wife. Not only that, when his first wife had a son for him, he ignored her and that baby. Child said Joe DiMaggio was so low down that when his son with his first wife got sick and was crying, Joe told his wife, see, I can't deal with this. I can't deal with all that crying. I gotta go and I gotta go stay at my side chick house. I'm sorry. How am I supposed to deal with this? I gotta get some sleep. Yeah. The man was said to be a character. But Marilyn, so young, so innocent, so beautiful, did not know any of this about Joe DiMaggio. And so she quickly started to develop real feelings for this man. And even when Joe started to show this controlling side, telling Marilyn, that, he didn't think it was proper or ladylike for a woman to wear a dress so low cut, and why was her skirt at her knees? It really should be at her ankles. Even when he started doing that to Marilyn, she still felt like, he cares about me, almost like a father figure. And so in the year 1954, she ended up marrying him. And as soon as she did, she found out that all of the little controlling stuff that Joe was doing at the beginning was the bare minimum, baby. This dude started acting a straight up fool. Child of folks say that Joe started telling Marilyn that she could no longer appear in films that made her look too sexy. As a matter of fact, he would have to review the script first and sign off on if she could appear in the film or not. And then if he did allow her to appear in some film or something like that, he would get upset, telling her that she was spending too much time at the studio and she needed to be home to cook dinner for him. He really wanted a housewife. He wanted a woman that he could rule with an iron fist. And most people always ask, if he wanted that, why would he go after Marilyn, seeing her career and seeing the way she was and all that? That was part of the narcissistic thing. He wanted to prove to all the other men that he could get the sexiest, most beautiful woman around. And then once he got her, he wanted to shut her away. And Marilyn kind of understood on the modest dressing thing. You know what I'm saying? She would kind of do that. But this whole shut me away so the world don't see me at all, that's going a little bit too far, player. And so Marilyn continued to live her life out loud. But unfortunately, when she did that, Joe DiMaggio would punish her. And first he was punishing her by when she got home, he would move into a different bedroom. Or he would just stop talking to her for weeks at a time. And then he started punishing her by allegedly busting her upside her head. But even though Joe was hurting Marilyn, you have to remember this woman had been through stuff ever since childhood. You know what I'm saying? So I think she felt like this was something else she could handle because she still would not leave when he started putting hands on her. But then Joe DiMaggio pushed his luck a little bit too far. You see, he felt like if hitting on Marilyn or moving out of a bedroom and not talking to her or criticizing the way she dressed, if that did not kill her movie career, then he would do it by letting the public know how he felt. Because he knew, especially at that time period, that men respected other men. And if Joe DiMaggio, America's hero at the time, came out letting other men know that, hey, I don't like y'all looking at my wife like that, other men were going to be like, you know what, we can't do nothing but respect that. That's that man's wife. And if he says that he don't want us looking at her or she needs to be at home, then we support that. We agree with that. And so he knew men would behave that way. But if the men agreed with him and behaved that way, that would pretty much ruin Marilyn. Because at this time, she was still playing those sexy characters. She was a big superstar because men found her attractive. Men wanted to sleep with her pretty much. I mean, she was trying to break out of those roles. But at this point, that's the kind of movies she was making. And so, like I said, if Joe was able to get this mentality to spread, it would either ruin Marilyn or at least drop her fanfare considerably. This was Joe's plan, and one night he put his plan in motion. And the infamous night I'm talking about is when Marilyn Monroe was filming that famous scene for the 7-Year Itch, the one where her dress was blowing up all around her and a snippet of her underwear was showing. Well, what a lot of people do not know is while that scene was being filmed, Joe was standing in the audience watching with everybody else that was on the street. And so when Marilyn's dress started blowing up, all of the men, even some of the women that were looking on are like, woo, sexy. And suddenly they start hearing Joe. And baby, he is going off. Hey, stop that. Y'all need to show some respect. That's my wife y'all hollering at like that. Honey, the man allegedly cut up so bad that they had to snip out that part of the filming, come back the next day and film the whole scene again. And of course, this whole situation was reported on by the local newspapers of the day. They're printing front page news about how Joe DiMaggio is mad at everybody for looking at his wife, which went right with Joe DiMaggio's plan. So just about every single man in town could read this and agree and be like, you know what? This is right. We should show this man more respect. And so, like I said, Joe thought he was slick. He thought he was going to ruin Marilyn's acting career by any means necessary. But Marilyn was like, baby, you ain't finna do nothing here. You think I'm gonna let you ruin my career? Exactly 1 month after Joe had his outburst, Marilyn divorced his behind. And by the time they actually divorced, they had only been married for 9 months. And Joe DiMaggio was absolutely sick. Child, the man went absolutely crazy. Allegedly, after Marilyn divorced and moved out and got her own place, Joe DiMaggio waited until Marilyn was gone and he sent some people in to bug her new home with listening devices. The folks say he also used to wear a fake beard in order to follow Marilyn around town. And for all of this spying and listening in that Joe DiMaggio was doing, one day he got what he was looking for. Marilyn had started laying up with her voice coach, a man by the name of Hal Schaefer. Well, Joe DiMaggio started listening in on those listening devices, and he heard Marilyn on the phone with Hal planning to meet up with him that night and spend the night with him. Well, Joe DiMaggio ends up going to see Frank Sinatra crying, hollering, Marilyn with somebody else. You need to come with me. I'm finna go jump on him. And so Frank Sinatra does pull up. Joe's getting out the car, huffing and puffing. Come on, we finna go handle this. We finna go handle this. Goes up to the apartment, busts down the door, swinging on the first thing in sight. And thankfully he missed, because when the smoke cleared, a 50-year-old woman was huddled up in her nightgown crying in the corner. This dude had burst into the wrong apartment. Baby, Joe and Frank ran up out of there faster than Usain Bolt, honey. And I don't know if Marilyn just felt like she needed to appease Joe because he was acting so crazy, or if the man was just super good in bed, honey. Because soon after this, Marilyn did end up sleeping around with Joe DiMaggio again. In fact, it's alleged that they continued to mess around pretty much for the rest of her life. Now, even though Marilyn had started back sleeping around with Joe DiMaggio again, she wasn't committed to anybody. And so she started to date around again. And this time, rumor has it, she started dating Marlon Brando. But her and Marlon Brando did not last for long. And it's probably because Marilyn heard tell that her old lover, Arthur Miller, was getting a divorce from his wife. And so she ended up reconnecting with Arthur Miller. And they ended up getting married in the year 1956. And I think Marilyn really loved Arthur Miller. Like, it was something about him that she respected so much and that she wanted to please so badly. And so immediately upon getting married, or probably even before, Marilyn converted to Judaism because Arthur Miller was a Jew. Also, since Arthur Miller was a respected playwright and a very serious and intellectual man, Marilyn became very serious about becoming a serious actress. This time she was really working hard to get rid of those dumb blonde roles. I mean, she even started taking classes at the actor studio with Lee and Paula Strasberg. So like I said, Marilyn was doing all of this to revamp herself into somebody that she felt would be good enough for her new husband, Arthur Miller. But sadly for Marilyn, almost nothing that this lady did would ever be good for Arthur Miller. He was a very intelligent, but very studious and serious man. Everything was meant to be taken apart and studied. And so a woman like Marilyn that had so much trauma in her life and so much emotional baggage, getting with a cold and unemotional man was a disaster. Let's say Marilyn came home heartbroken. You know, I don't know, something happened at the studio, her feelings were hurt. She would want to talk to Arthur about it and have him comfort her, but he would hit her with some deep mind stuff. You know, I think it's really pathetic of you that you're letting what they think or say about you affect you. What is that inside of you, Marilyn, that does that? You need to figure that out and you need to fix it. And this is all well and fine. You know what I'm saying? I get what he's saying, and maybe what he was saying is the truth, but so I just need a hug right now. So do you see what I'm saying? The type of relationship it was. And so what was happening is Marilyn was kind of chasing his love, chasing his emotion. She was trapped in a cycle where she was trying to make this man show that he cared about her or loved her in the way that she needed. And he just didn't understand why she couldn't understand that this is the way he was. And when people are unmatched like that, especially when a person that's the emotional one in the relationship is unmatched like that, they're going to start suffering depression. They start to feel like, why am I not good enough for you to love me? All I want you to do is love me. And that always turns into them feeling like something is wrong with them. And Marilyn started to feel like something was wrong with her. And the more she reached out and tried to pull those emotions and that love out of Arthur, the more he pulled away. So she was trapped in a very cold, and if it was not a loveless marriage, it was certainly mismatched. But Marilyn still loved Arthur. So she didn't want to leave him, but she did feel the need to replace the love that she was missing from him. And so she began to be dead set on having a baby. Somebody who would love her, somebody who she could just pour all of her love into. But every single time she tried, and allegedly it was between 3 and 5 times, she miscarried. And then when she miscarried, especially when she started miscarrying more than once or twice, Arthur, who already is a very unemotional man, started to kind of get tired of being her comforter. I don't really know if I said that right, but what I'm trying to make you guys see is that for a person that's not emotional, when Marilyn had the first 1 or 2 miscarriages, he tried to comfort her. He was there, you know, but when they kept happening, it was kind of like for Arthur, you know, hey, I've been showing you an emotional side to try to comfort you that I really don't even have. I'm not even that type of emotional person. And if these miscarriages are going to just keep happening, like, I just don't have it in me anymore to be that emotional comfort to you. And it sounds harsh, especially the way I'm explaining it, but I'm trying to explain it the best way I can for you guys to grasp. And so after maybe about 3 or 4 years of marriage, things became really, really sour and stale in their marriage. It really did become a marriage where there was no love there. It was just bad. The marriage drained Marilyn. All of the miscarriages drained Marilyn. Not getting any real love and emotional stuff, it just drained her. So when she and Arthur divorced in the year of 1961, allegedly, Marilyn ended up having a nervous breakdown. According to the official story, she was just too overwhelmed with everything. And like I said, she had a nervous breakdown. And when she did, her psychiatrist had her shipped to a mental hospital. But see, now we finna put a little conspiracy theory, tea, and gossip up in here. Gossip on these streets claim that this could have been a case where Marilyn did not do what somebody higher up wanted her to do. See, with these celebrities today, it's almost common knowledge that if they disobey an order, that somebody will sign them up to be shipped away to a mental hospital. And so because of the fact that Marilyn did not call this mental hospital herself or check herself in, and it was under the orders of her psychiatrist, a lady by the name of Marianne Chris, people feel like maybe Marilyn either wasn't sick at all, or if she was sick and had a nervous breakdown, it was because something the higher ups was trying to force her to do and she didn't want to, and so under all that pressure, she ended up having a breakdown. And so like I said, this is a theory, but the situation that gives the theory legs is the way Joe DiMaggio behaved when Marilyn was taken away to this mental facility. Because rumor has it, Marilyn called Joe DiMaggio and she told him, hey, they got me locked away up in here against my will. I need help. I don't have anybody to help me. Please, Joe, get me out of here, please. And baby said Joe DiMaggio was up at that center the very next morning demanding that they let his ex-wife go now. Child said that the receptionist was like, we can't. We're under strict orders where she has to be locked down. Baby said Joe DiMaggio told that woman, you let her go right now or I will take this place apart brick by brick. And baby, you don't want to see me get to that. You better let her go. And next thing you know, Marilyn was rolled out in a wheelchair, smiling, looking up at the sky. Immediately after she was released, Joe DiMaggio whisked her away and they went on some sort of vacation, beach vacation somewhere. She spent several days, if not weeks, with Joe DiMaggio recovering. And it's alleged that Joe once again asked her to marry him or at least be in a committed relationship with him. And Marilyn just told him no. She just told him, Joe, I love you. I do love you. But no, I still want to focus on my career. And I think that these two marriages with Joe DiMaggio and Arthur Miller made her feel like every time she tried to become soft and vulnerable and let somebody else take care of her instead of yanking the reins in her own life and, doing what she had to do to make sure she was protected and taken care of, even if it meant opening her legs. I think she felt like every time she tried to set that to the side, put that mental down and allow herself to be soft and let a man take charge and take the lead in her life, she always ended up being hurt. And I say this because once Marilyn had fully recovered from both of those marriages, baby, she was back on demon time. I think she knew inherently wasn't no man gonna be able to take care of her. She was just gonna have to do it on her own her whole life. And so she went back to doing what she knew worked for her. And allegedly, once again, Marilyn Monroe started messing around with some of everybody. Actor Eve Montan, Jerry Lewis. Somebody said Marilyn possibly even had a girls' night out with her drama coach, Natasha Lattes. Oh, and then somebody said Marilyn allegedly messed around with Frank Sinatra at this time. And baby, Frank Sinatra know he wrong. How you sitting up there hugging Joe DiMaggio, telling him it's okay, and going and helping him beat somebody up over Marilyn, but as soon as you get the chance, you messing around with her too. But anyway, during this period of Marilyn Monroe wilding out, this is when President JFK allegedly joined the ranks. Rumor has it, in March of 1962, Bing Crosby had a big party at his house, and all of the big names, including JFK and Marilyn Monroe, were there. Honey, the folks say JFK passed a note through his Secret Service or somebody to Marilyn Monroe, basically telling her that he wanted to spend a little time with her, get to know her personally. So allegedly, they decided not to leave the party together. They didn't want to be seen, and they just waited around until the crowd died down and everybody started going home. As soon as there were a minimal amount of people there, they went to a back bedroom and allegedly JFK asked Marilyn to give him a massage. So according to the story, after this night, the affair was on and popping. Allegedly, JFK and Marilyn were meeting up whenever their schedule allowed. As a matter of fact, gossip claims that Marilyn was trying to change her schedule to meet up with JFK. The people on the set of the movie she was shooting, which was called Something's Got to Give, said that Marilyn had started acting out. You know what I'm saying? Like she didn't want to be there. She would leave early, she would arrive late, and they didn't know what was wrong with her. But some people believe she was acting like that because she wanted to go be with her man. So anyway, allegedly all of this time JFK and Marilyn are spending together causes Marilyn to drop the guard down on her heart, and she starts to develop real feelings for the very married JFK. And allegedly she starts to tell him things like, I wish we could be together, I think I'm going to love you. And honey, just like most married men, they're sitting up there cheating with the woman on the side. When the woman on the side starts talking like this, he starts getting scared about the situation and start pulling away. So story says Marilyn starts to kind of feel JFK pulling away from her, and this is when she became desperate to sing happy birthday at his upcoming presidential birthday bash. Now there are several different versions of how this came about, so maybe take this little part with a grain of salt. But like I told you, she had already slept around with actor Peter Lawford. Peter Lawford was now JFK's brother-in-law. He married JFK's sister, but he's still cool with Marilyn. So he's cool with his brother-in-law JFK, cool with Marilyn. Sometimes he's the go-between. Well, anyway, according to this rumor, after Marilyn hears about the birthday bash, she begs Peter Lawford to invite her as the singer. Make sure she's on the program. She wants to sing. After Marilyn kept begging him, he did put her on the program as the singer. And so, in May of 1962, Marilyn shows up in this skin-tight, beautiful dress that almost looks a little see-through-ish. And she sings the sexiest happy birthday anybody has ever heard in their life. Allegedly, JFK is mortified. And so gossip claims he recruited his brother, Bobby Kennedy, into the situation. Basically telling Bobby to kind of get rid of Marilyn. Let her know this thing is over with. I'm done. I don't want her. And so, allegedly, in the month of either June or July of 1962, Bobby goes and has a private dinner with Marilyn. Some people say he went to Marilyn's house. I'm not sure. But wherever he was with her, he has a conversation with her and he tries to gently break the news that this whole thing you had with my brother is over with. But they say when Bobby told Marilyn this, she absolutely breaks down. Breaks down so much that Bobby feels like she needs a little bit of comforting. Child say that Bobby went from giving Marilyn a hug and stroking her hair, telling her it was okay, to being laid up in the bed with her, asking what they was having for breakfast the next day. Once again, I ain't got no lie to tell you, honey. The folks claim that Bobby and Marilyn started messing around. But Bobby, just like his brother JFK, also worked in government. He also was married. So just like his brother JFK couldn't be with Marilyn, Bobby could not be with Marilyn either. So now he's tangled up in this thing, and soon, just like his brother, he has to find a way to break away. And nobody has ever come up with a clear situation of how this has happened, but I'm just going to tell you the theory that made the most sense to me. Allegedly, sometime between the period of July 20th and August the 3rd of 1962, Bobby phones Marilyn, and during this conversation, allegedly, he tells her that, they also cannot be together. Rumor has it Marilyn goes insane. She's on the phone crying, she's fussing, you and your brother are sorry bastards. You know what I'm saying? Y'all used me. This is ridiculous. You cannot do women this way. I'm going to tell the whole world what's going on. And so Bobby allegedly tells Marilyn, Marilyn, just calm down, baby. Don't do anything like that. I cannot see you today, but I'll come to see you soon. And allegedly, the night that he came to see Marilyn was August the 4th, 1962, the night that Marilyn Monroe passed away. So now we're going into different theories about what happened to Marilyn on her last day. And since we're already talking about the Kennedy brothers, let's go ahead and discuss that theory. Gossip claims on the night of Marilyn's death, like I just told you, Bobby was actually at her home. And I don't know what kind of conversation was had. All I know is allegedly, according to this theory, sometime during his visit, he had his Secret Service agents to either strangle Marilyn and take her off the planet, or they allegedly gave her an enema of a cocktail mix of fatal dangerous drugs. And the reason they did this by enema instead of putting it down Marilyn's throat is because they did not want the evidence to show up in her stomach. So that is the first theory. The second theory is the basic theory. This theory does still say that Bobby Kennedy stopped by that night, but this theory claims that Bobby and his agents left Marilyn alive, but she was so depressed by Bobby just ending things with her, and the whole stuff with JFK, that after he left, she took a cocktail of dangerous medication, also with some wine, and messed around and took herself off of the planet. And of course, like I said, that's the basic theory that everybody has pretty much kind of heard all of their life. The third theory is the one that's way out of nowhere that nobody has really heard at all. And this has something to do with Marilyn's psychiatrist or her therapist, a man by the name of Dr. Ralph Greenson. It also has something to do with that couple that I mentioned earlier, the Strasberg. Let me break the theory down for you guys. So I haven't told you guys much detail about Marilyn and the Strasberg, but gossip claims not only was she going to their actor studio for lessons, she became very, very close to these people. They became almost like parents to her. In fact, things are so good that allegedly Marilyn adds the Strasbergs to her will. But according to rumor, over time it got very dark. The folks say it got to the point where the Strasbergs pretty much controlled Marilyn. Not only controlled Marilyn, controlled her finances. It's alleged that Paula Strasberg demanded that she be Marilyn's only acting coach. She also would have Marilyn check in with her before she accepted any movie roles. Kind of would have Marilyn check in with her before she made any decision in her life. This rumor or conspiracy theory also claims that Marilyn was pretty much financing these people's total lifestyle. But Marilyn didn't know anything about it. And according to this theory, when the Strasbergs felt like they had a good tight grip on Marilyn, they started to invite other people to rob Marilyn blind. One of those people, allegedly, according to the conspiracy theory, was the psychiatrist Marianne Chris, which is the same psychiatrist that allegedly wrote the order for Marilyn to be locked up in the mental facility. Well, rumor has it, after the mental facility debacle, Marianne referred Marilyn to a Dr. Ralph Greenson. So when Dr. Greenson starts seeing Marilyn, he allegedly tells Marilyn that she needs to stop by his office to have an appointment with him every single day out of the week, sometimes twice a day. And he's supposedly billing her $50 per visit. So this is easily maybe about $500, maybe more a week. And when anybody questions why Marilyn needs to see this doctor so much, allegedly he's telling people, Marilyn is a very sick girl. She has all this trauma from childhood. I have to get her over it. Allegedly, on top of Dr. Greenson telling Marilyn that she needs to see him 7 days a week, he also installs a maid in her house. And this housekeeper's name was Eunice Murray. So this is yet another person that is tied with Dr. Greenson and everybody else I've named. So allegedly, because of the fact that Dr. Greenson sent Eunice Murray to be Marilyn's maid and housekeeper and all that good stuff, rumor has it that Marilyn starts to feel smothered. She has to see Dr. Greenson 7 days a week. Also, this lady is in her house. Allegedly, Marilyn feels like she's being spied on, like she's being controlled. And so around the month of July 1962, a month before her death, it is alleged that Marilyn started talking to people about cleaning house. Allegedly, she wanted to get Eunice, the housekeeper, out of her life. Allegedly, she wanted to get Dr. Greenson out of her life, possibly wanted to even cut off the Strasberg. She just wanted the freedom to live her own life without having to check with anyone. Well, if the theory is true that Marilyn is pretty much funding all of these people, their job and money depends upon Marilyn, they cannot just have Marilyn cutting them all off like that. Especially when it comes to the Strasbergs, they are listed on Marilyn's will, for God's sake. What if she changes that? So, according to this conspiracy theory, on the day of August 4th, Dr. Greenson stopped by Marilyn's house. As a matter of fact, he was there for most of the day. And as I'm explaining this, don't forget, this is a totally separate theory from the Kennedy brothers theory, okay? So don't try to be like, I thought the Kennedy brothers was there. How was he there? This is two totally different theories. In this theory, Bobby Kennedy never showed up at the house that day. Only Dr. Greenson was there, as well as Marilyn, as well as her housekeeper, Eunice Murray. As it turns into evening, he ends up leaving the house. The only people still left there are Marilyn Monroe and the housekeeper, Eunice Murray. Well, this conspiracy theory does not give an exact method of how someone took Marilyn off of the planet, but it implies that however she left the planet that night, it was because of something Eunice Murray and Dr. Ralph Greenson did to her. All I can tell you is that at 3:30 the next morning on August the 5th, Eunice Murray comes in to find Marilyn's body on the bed. Instead of calling the police, allegedly the first person she calls is Dr. Ralph Greenson. And so he is the first person on the scene. Not only is he on the scene before the police, I think his name was Dr. Engelberg, he also came to the scene. Another person who allegedly made it to the scene before the police was Marilyn's lawyer, a man by the name of Mickey Rudin. So all of these people are there before the police, walking all across the scene. You know, who knows who moved what. And then finally the police and the coroner come, and when they finally got there, allegedly housekeeper Eunice Murray was in the washroom washing some sheets in the washing machine. Then it's claimed when the police asked Eunice Murray what happened that night, her story changed a couple of times. And when one of the detectives asked Eunice, okay, so why are you saying this now, but you didn't say that then? Eunice told them, I told you what I thought was good to tell you. So I don't know. I do not know. Y'all take all that information how you want to take it, but I do want to tell you guys this. When Marilyn Monroe left this earth on August the 4th, 1962, she was only 36 years old. And so I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, please like the video. If you are new here, please subscribe. I appreciate you guys so much, and I will be back with another old Hollywood scandalous tale soon.